Assalamu alaikum, good morning again. Today, inshallah, we will talk about polymorphism. Before we talk about polymorphism, we will just review with you what we have talked about previously. First of all, we have talked about, in the previous lecture, we have talked about overridden, overriding, and we said for overriding we should apply inheritance. Okay. And we talk about overloading, and we have said overloading does not require inheritance. So inheritance in overloading is not required. Also, we have talked about private. We said that we cannot inherit. We cannot inherit constructor. And we cannot inherit a private member. So because we cannot inherit these things, we cannot apply inheritance on them, so we cannot apply overridden because if we want to apply overridden, that means we are going, or we should apply inheritance. Also, we have talked about public modifier, a private, protected default, and a private modifier. And we said that if you have in the subclass, in the super class public, and you want to override this one in the subclass here in the child, the method should be of type public. If the method is protected here, it can be public and it can be protected according to the order or to the weaknesses of this modifier. And we said if it was default, that means the overridden method can be public, can be protected, and can be default. And the private member, of course, cannot be inherited. So this is what we have talked about in our previous lecture. We will continue, inshallah, talking about polymorphism. Polymorphism, guys, in Arabic means تعدد الأشكال. Actually, we have applied a lot of things or a lot of methods using polymorphism. Okay. But today, inshallah, we will specify this concept and we will talk about it in more details. Polymorphism, guys, means تعدد الأشكال. Now, for the polymorphism, if we want to do the polymorphism, we should do, or we should apply inheritance. So if we have inheritance, we might have polymorphism. So these are connected together. So now I will go to next slide. Inshallah, polymorphism, according to our plan, will be divided into 2 lectures here. So we will try to explain the half of the slide this week. And in the next week, we will, inshallah, continue. And during the lab, things will be more clear to you, inshallah, during the lab. So I will clear now the drawing and go to next slide. Bonomorphism, discover polymorphism and dynamic binding. We will talk about this. Okay. Store and retrieve, manipulate objects in array list. We will talk about this, inshallah, next lecture. So we will talk about polymorphism and dynamic binding, inshallah, in this lecture. Okay. This is our objective for this lecture, and in the next lecture we will talk about array list. Now here are type of polymorphism. Polymorphism is it looks by the name in programming like same but express different characters. So we have the same name, okay, but we have different character. These twins brother looks similar, but they hold different characteristics. Okay. As we have said, polymorphism in Arabic means تعدد الأشكال or تعدد الاستجابات خلينا نقول، أو تعدد سميها ردود الفعل. So for instance, or for example, we have these two twins. They have the same name, or and somehow they are twins, but they might behave in different way. So for a situation, this guy might smile, and this, for example, guys might laugh a lot. Maybe in this situation, this guy might cry, and this guy might smile, and so on. So the action of these twins are not the same. They are inherited. They have the same father, but they have different behavior. They have here different behavior. Now, so I want to control in polymorphism here. In polymorphism, as we have said, that we have different action, we have different behavior, and in spite these are twins, and or these are of the same object. Okay. So I will control the behavior, or I will control the action for this. I might use a method control, write a code to use the method here for this one, or to use a different method with the same name for this one, or for the parent. Okay. So the specifying the action, and as we said, everyone has its own action, and we have many action or many methods for twins or some objects that are inherited of the same father. This is called polymorphism. So it is the ability of an object to take many forms. Example, it can perform differently in different situations. Okay, different situation. So if this object is equals something, I will do something. If this object name is something, I will do another thing, and so on. I will go now to next slide, inshallah. We have talked about polymorphism previously, but now we will focus on this concept, and we will see what would happen during during applying the polymorphism. We have two types of polymorphism here. We have polymorphism is a concept by which can perform a single action in different ways. We mean same method, but every method has its own logic. So we have M1 here, M1 and M1 here, but this one do something and this one do another thing. So there are two types of polymorphism, اللي هو compile time polymorphism, and we have talked about this previously, and we have runtime polymorphism. Compile time polymorphism, by the way, it is in Java. We can perform polymorphism in Java by overloading and overriding. Okay, overloading and overriding. So we have talked about this concept. That means we can call method the same method, and we can apply or behave differently between the same method name. Okay, now the compile time polymorphism, in other words, it is the overloading here. Okay, overloading. Okay, so we have two types of polymorphism. The first type is compile time polymorphism. One of the common example about compile time polymorphism is overloading, and we have also runtime polymorphism. We can apply this also by overriding. As I have said previously, polymorphism means inheritance, and we mean by that we have overriding. Okay, this is the dynamic one, the runtime. But the compile time polymorphism, this happens at compile time. One of the example about compile time polymorphism is method overloading. We will see now how. I will go to next slide to show you how compile one of the polymorphism type is a compile time polymorphism, and this is called overloading. We have talked about overloading a lot in many places. So I will go now here, شباب. More than one method with the same name. Now the compile time polymorphism is nothing but the method overloading in Java. In method overloading, a class can have more than one method with same name by different number of arguments, different number of parameters. So mainly these methods have the same name. Okay, so have single action, single name or the same name. So these are similar to each other, but they have different argument or different type, so they behave differently. They behave differently, but they have the same name, as you know, like this one, add, A. Here we calculate doubles, here we calculate 3 integers, here we calculate 2 integers, and so on. So one of the types of polymorphism is a compile time polymorphism, which is, by in other simple words, is the overloading. Okay, I believe that we have talked about this previously. Here we are finding the square of a double. Here we're finding the square of long. We're finding the square and the integer type, the received value or the parameter is of type integer. The parameter here is of type long. And look at the return value also, it's different here. Here it is double, here it is long, here it is integer, but all of them have the same name. And the same here. So this is this is called a compile time polymorphism, because once you compile the program, you don't have to change anything. If you use the class A and use this method you need just to pass the parameter to it. Okay. Now I will go to next slide here and start talking about runtime polymorphism. Runtime polymorphism or dynamic method dispatch, this one is happened at runtime. That means the action of or the behavior of the object or classes will not be specified. ما راح يكون محدد في compile time. It will be specified at runtime. Runtime polymorphism. So the action of the method, the actions of this method, or the behavior, or the action of this object, or the method, or the behavior will be specified at runtime. Okay. And we, as we said here, we should have inheritance, and we should have the overridden method. We have overridden method. In this process, an overridden method is called through reference variable. Okay. What is the reference variable here? Here, and here, and here. This is the reference variable. Now, the determination of the method to be called is based on the objective being referred to by the reference variable. So now when I run my program here, I run my program, I will call a call. I will create an object from the call, from during the runtime, like this one, and this one, and this one. Okay. Now, if I have called this thing here, or I have created this object based on the parent, of course, I am going to call something from the parent. So I have specified the reference variable during the runtime. This is the reference variable. This is reference variable, and also this and this. And here also, I have created an object of the child, and I will specify a method to call a method from the child. So I specify the method that I am going to call from the child using the reference variable C. And in the previous example, I have specified the method to call using the reference variable P. And also here I have created parent B, but I have put it inside, I have created an object, okay, from this class, which is the subclass, and put it in object, in a variable or in a reference variable of the parent class. If you remember, this is what we have applied this in the previous lecture. This is, in other words, called upcasting. Upcasting. Now, if you have do something like this, you try to create a class, create an instance from the subclass and assign it to a reference variable from the parent class. In that case, you have two options now. If the method, if you remember, if the method is static, you will not able to call the method here from the child. If you remember what we have talked about in the previous lecture. So I have create a new child from the parent, and I have assigned it to a reference variable to the parent here, to the parent reference variable here, to be. This is what we call upcasting. Now, if I make the method of type static, in that case, I will call a method from the parent. Okay. But in this case here, as you can see, I cannot do that here. Why? Because I have parent, and this parent, as you can see, we have a child extend this parent. So this is the largest one. والأكبر here. I cannot put the bigger one or the parent inside a reference variable of type child. It's not allowed in Java, and this will cause compile error. So this is not allowed. I cannot create here call a class, okay, and put it inside the child. Because this class is parent, I cannot assign or put a parent inside the child here. Okay, I cannot do that. I cannot do that at all. This will cause a compile error. Inshallah, I will show an example about this, and I will try to generate an error for you. Okay. So we are going to talk about dynamic method dispatch or dynamic binding, inshallah, during our lecture. Let me go to next, or before I go to next slide, I will show an example here, our first example. Let me just open the file, and I will share the screen with you in minutes. Here we have guides, our first class. I will share it with you now. New share, and I will share the screen with you. I will share the screen with you now. Can you see the code now? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Now, guys, here we have Bonomorphism now one. Now we have a class A, and we have put here class A, and we have overridden the toString method, and we have returned A. And we have here class B. This is class B extends A, as you can see. So B, we have now A class, and we have B. Now B extends A. Okay. And also we have overridden this method from the, if you remember, the object. If you remember what we have studied in the previous lecture, we said that we have the object class, which is on the root, or which is the father of all other, or it is the root or the father of any created class in Java. So object class is at the root or the father, which is the father or the root of any created class in Java. Class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4. Now here in the polymorphism, just we have talked about this previously, but we wanna study this during polymorphism. We have a new B. Here we have called M of A, we have called B, and we have called new B. We assigned it to the parent, and we called a method called M. Then we have created a class and put it in A1. Then we have called the same method. Then we have created created a new class and assigned it to the child. So هنا child to child, هنا parent to parent, هنا child to parent, because B is the child and B is the parent. Here child parent, here we have parent parent, here we have child child, and here the method I have created هنا M object X. Let's see what would happen here. I will run now. As you can see here, we have created run B, then A. When we have run the method here, first of all, we have called B inside, then we call the method A. This object, we passed it here, then we printed B. Now we have printed A for the second call, and for the third call, we have printed B. Now, if you remember in our previous lecture, if we have we apply, if you remember, something called overhidden. Okay. Overhidden, this one work with basic data type variable, and during the overhidden, we were not able to override the static method. And overriding static method, we are not able to do that with basic data type. Now, based on this one, the idea here that we have specified the method that we want to call during our runtime. Okay, our runtime here. Okay, not during our compile time. Now I will go to next one here. So now in upcasting, we have talked about this. We have two classes, B and A. B extends A. Then we have assigned the child here to parent. Now this one, look guys at this one. M, a new student, same as object or new students M of O. My question is why this is the same as this one? Implicit casting here. The statement object or new student known as implicit casting is legal because an instance of a student is automatically an instance of object. What do you mean? What do we mean by this, guys? يلا فكروا فيها. شو يعني هذا upcasting? Why this is legal? We said that this is legal. And when this one will not be illegal? Now, guys, here we have object, as we have said. Object is the father of all the classes. Here we have a class student. I have to create an instance of a class student. Now, any instance Now we have this student here. And we have object class here. So if you have create a new student, in that case, you have created a class that inherits or extends the object class. Extends the object class. So in other way, you are just here, you just assigning this one to object class. So this statement is exactly look like this one. Because now you have created a class, okay, and assigned it to object O. Then you have passed it like this. Now, when you deal with a student, new student, that means you are dealing with O, object. طيب. Why this is legal? ليش هذا legal؟ لأنه الأوبجكت because object هو الفاذر هو greater أكبر greater than the child. هو أكبر دائما الأوبجكت هو أكبر من الباقين. فأنت بتقدر تمسك any new class and put it, you can take any new class here and put it inside a reference type, put it inside a reference variable of type object here, because object, as we have said, is at the top of the class. So reference, we can put any object of child class here, assigned it to any reference of variable parent class. This is what we call upcasting, and this is what we call implicit upcasting. So if you saw this statement, that means you are applying the same as this one. So we are explaining this one in other way here. So this one is a shortage, let's say, or a shortcut for this two statements here. I am taking the new class, and if you have created any class, that means you have created the class and it is of type object. So it is just like putting this class inside O and passing O to any method. This is a method. Okay, this is called implicit casting. Now, guys, if we have here a new student, we have here a new student. كده. My question is, and we have هذا student extends, sorry, هذا كده extends, هذا student, هذا الparent. And here we have عندنا مثلا راح نجي كمان شوي graduate student. Can we هذا class, okay, this one. We have here a graduate student, G, our graduate. This graduate student extends student. Both are student, but this one is the parent, before هو الparent, and this one is the child. Now, if I have defined a new student here, can I do something like this? Graduate student GS equal a new student. Again, I have defined something M a new student. والآن في الM هذه method فيها graduate student هذا type للكلاس وفيها متغير اسمه GS variable من هذا الجراديويت. Can I call the method M in this way؟ اخذ النيو ستودنت احطه في الجراديويت ستودنت. Can I do that؟ يلا شباب. I need your answer now if you can. بقدر امسك الستودنت هذا put it inside the graduate student. هذا قديم الشات. This is all chatting. Yeah. شو رايكم now؟ student هو عندي البيرنت. طيب بقدر امسك البيرنت احطه في الشايلد. Can I do that؟ No. Mahsen said no. Thank you, Mahsen. Yes, no, we cannot do that. We cannot put the parent one inside the method M because GS is not the father of a new student, not the father of the student, of the new student. It is the child. So this will cause a compile error. Compile error. Now, that's good. Thank you, Ahmed and Mahsen. Thank you. This will cause a compile error. Now, but in otherwise, if I did not do anything في هذا الميثود اللي هي M, by default implicitly this one will be assigned to the object class. So if I have any method here, I will call the method here. So this polymorphism, or the way of calling the method inside this class, will be changed dynamically based on my code, based on my binding, بناء على الربط تاعي أو something we are going to study now اللي هو dynamic binding اللي هو الشيء اللي أنا ربط له dynamically during running dynamic binding during running my program. I will go now to next one. Bye. Now, guide this one. This one is simply just calling a method, okay? Which is called b.run, which is called run. And here we have do the upcasting. We have defined a new class from the child, then we have assigned it to the parent class. هذا هو الparent, هذا هو الchild. Then we have parent, child. Then we have called new sport bike B. Then we have said here b.run. Now b.run will be this one. Okay. Now, where is the dynamic binding? Here. Now, my question is, if this method is static, and this method is static, and I have run this code here, which statement will be printed? If you were with me in the previous lecture, if this method here is static and this method here is static, okay, the same method, but the method type is static, which statement will be printed on the screen? This one or this one, guys? What do you think? Did you remember this one? We have applied an example in our previous lecture about this. Static. أي واحد الشباب راح تتنفذ. if you don't remember this one, they cannot have static, and you have, yes, thank you, right, and we have, thank you, and we have write something like this. Okay, the first one will be running because we will not apply overridden with a static method. Static method here in that case. Okay, now I will go to next slide. Now, Shabab, I will try to run this to you, and we will see what would happen here. What would happen here? I prepare this example in order to make things easier to you. Mainly this class talking about the concept polymorphism, and I believe that we have run some example of the polymorphism before, so don't be confused. And inshallah, during the lab things we will apply a clear example about polymorphism. So now I will show you, so things inshallah will be clear to you. We have this one, guys: graduate student, person student, polymorphism, and student. هذا polymorphism. Here we have, I will try to maximize the font. This is the same example inside your slide. Okay, guys. Now everything will be bind to object X. So this is allowed in Java because object is the biggest biggest class or the root class for any other object. Had a new student, a new person, a new object. Now I can put a graduate student في object. It's okay. I can put this one here and also this one and also object inside object. These are all allowed. خلينا نشوف شو اللي قاعد بصير. What would happen now? شوفوا الآن شو اللي بصير. When I do something like this, I will assign the class to the object. So in that case, I am going after assign calling this M, I will pass this one here and print X to string. Now, if I want to print this X, هذا الأوبجكت اللي أنا بركته هنا, this one that I have passed, and I have written here X to string. What would happen here? Before we run the program, I want to remind you by something here. If you remember, to string method is one of the generic method اللي موجودة في الأوبجكت إذا بتتذكروا. to string, get name, if you remember, clone في the previous lecture, notify, wait, اللي هي notify all. These methods exist inside exist inside اللي هو in the object class. So when I do this binding here, what is going to be run? To string here, هذه الstring الموجودة في الobject, or we are going to apply اللي هو string هذه. شوفوا هذه string في graduate مثلا for example تطبع لي كلمة graduate student. هذه بتطبع لي person string اللي هنا. هذه بتطبع لي الobject sorry الستودنت تطبع لي الستودنت هي تو string البيرسون تطبع لي البيرسون اوكي التو string تطبع لي الجراديويت ستودنت هذا الجراديويت ستودنت يعني everyone print a statement represented graduate student again person تطبع لي person will student will print for me student no and if you remember we have said in the object اللي هو class هذا اللي هو الobject هذا we have as we said to string get name get the class name notify wait all and we have by default and to string وهذا ال to string by default راح تطبع لك الكلاس نيم إذا بتتذكروا السلايدز الكلاس نيم at number some number class number this number is generated by Java virtual machine now when I do the binding here the binding يعني لما أنا أسحب هذا كل هذا الأوبجكت أوديه على الأوبجكت شو راح يصير لهذا؟ راح يصير شيء اسمه implicit casting. Okay. So this implicit casting mean I will call the method inside اللي هو الأوبجكت فوق هذا اللي في الروت. طب how should I know that؟ كيف راح أعرف هذا الكلام؟ We will run now and see. We will run now and see what would happen. I will run. I will first of all close discard. I will close all the other files to make sure that we are running the same file. Polymorphism 1. هذا. Now I will run. شوفوا هنا results شباب. Look at these results. Graduate student at person at هذه الأولى كول لهذه طبع لي راح أعمل كول للgraduate student بعدها أعمل كول للstudent أعمل كول للبيرسون وأعمل كول للobject طيب هذه النمبر these numbers are created by the GVM اللي هي Java Virtual Machine GVM طيب guys الآن what do you think guys أي to string هو الآن apply هل we have applied to string الموجودة في الobject or to string الموجودة في الclasses which method الآن انطبعت لنا what do you think guys أي method اتنفذت the first yes right which method no this is all chat in which classes محسن الآن هذا اللي في الكلاس وشو قاعد برجع لك هذا بيطبع لك كلمة graduate space student هل طبع لك هذه النتيجة هنا no شوف هذه person هل طبع لك person لحالها لا هل طبع لك student لحالها no in that case when I did the binding here I applied the method inside the parent or the root class اللي هو الobject كيف عرفت هذا لأنه default to string هي اللي نعملها run default to string اللي موجودة في الobject هي بتعمل print الclass name at number is there any method here print class name number هاي print person this one print graduate student this one print student no one Okay, so this is a kind of polymorphism. I have specified using the binding باستخدام البايندينج والنيو. قلت له أنا ما راح أستخدم أبدا الميثود اللي أنت عاملها overridden. I am going to use the method الموجودة وين؟ في البيرنت class. Later إن شاء الله in the previous lecture راح نحدد له، أقول له إذا هذا الكلاس this class اسمه كذا أو عملت منه كذا object new، اعمل call لميثود كذا. إذا هذا الكلاس if class كان من نوع something else اعمل call لميثود كذا. إذا هذا الكلاس من ميثود object 3 اعمل له call ميثود كذا. So these are kinds of polymorphism. يعني I will during the code اللي هو runtime polymorphism during the binding هذا أو dynamic binding I can specify if I want to run the method من child، يعني هذا parent بدي أعمل run من هذا child أو من هذا child أو من هذا child، أو ما بدي أعمل من هذا بدي أعمل للبيرنت، أو بدي أعمل من البيرنت للبيرنت and so on. Okay, so this is يعني this is the concept Bonomorphism refers to. We can specify the method that we want to run based on our code. So as we have said again, we have two types of polymorphism. We have the compile والrun. الcompile أفضل الأمثلة عليه اللي هو ثابت، احنا مش قاعدين نعمل أي نيو لأي كلاس وبنعملش binding، اللي هو الoverloading العادي اللي انتو known to you. والرن تايم هو الأمثلة اللي عملناها قبل شوي. في مرة عملنا classes different classes and we have called method directly. نطبق كل method لحالها زي هي زي ال A لما طبعنا A and B and A and B in the first example and in the second example we have specify إنه لا أنا بدي أعمل binding أربط هذا الأوبجكت مع اللي هو الميثود مع الأوبجكت كلاس وأستدعي الجينيريك ميثود. الآن in the third lecture إن شاء الله in the next lecture we can specify، بقدر أحدد. I will clear now. مش إني أقول له روح على البيرنت فقط أو استخدم التشايلد بحسب الديفولت هذا أو روح على البيرنت. No, I can check the instance name or instance type. هل هو of type graduate student؟ إذا graduate student روح اعمل لي لك call لميثود معين. إذا هو type student اعمل call لميثود ثاني. إذا هو type person اعمل call لميثود ثالثة. قد لا تكون it might not be the method inside the person. It might be a method inside another class, and so on. So these are forms of polymorphism or types of polymorphism. In this behavior, we can specify which action we are going to take based on binding. هذا واحد إنه أنا أروح على أعمل binding للobject. The second thing إنه I call it from يعني depends on the default thing إنه أعمل overridden. The third thing اللي هو اللي we will study this إن شاء الله later when I can check what is the instance type and based on that I will specify what to do, which method to call. يعني أشوف هذا graduate student ممكن أقول له هذا graduate student يعمل call من البيرسون أو البيرسون يعمل call من الستودنت إلى آخره. Okay, so this is a concept in Java. Actually, it is just a concept, and inshallah during the lab these things will be easier to. One thing, guys, just kind of brainstorming. شوفوا الآن هنا هذا البرين، هذا سوري المورفيزم brainstorming شباب. لو أنا عملت هنا شوفوا شو راح أكتب هنا معي شباب، شايفين الكود؟ can you see the code؟ كتبت هنا person. شوفوا شو صار عندي. again I have written here person. شوفوا الايرور. ليش هذا الايرور طلع إذا شايفين الشاشة؟ يلا اليوم الثلاثاء وسط الأسبوع و I know it's early lecture but يعني you have to stay with me. ليش هذا أعطاني ايرور شباب؟ طيب I have said talked about this in the beginning of this lecture. طيب لو أنا عملت هنا شوفوا الآن راح أكتب X person، راح أعمل student. Can you see شباب the screen? Are you seeing the screen? Can you see? أيوة excellent. هو محسن اليوم معي ما شاء الله يعني صح. Because student is not the father. الآن أنا قاعد بمرق person لمين؟ للstudent. هذا اللي تكلمت عنه في البداية. فأعطاني هنا compile error. هنا مرقت object student أعطاني error. ما راح يقبل. أوكي. Yes. غيرت هذا. فالبيرسون ما انقبل داخل الأوبجكت داخل الستودنت. ما قدرت أعمل هذا الكلام. ما قلت أعمل assign للأوبجكت داخل الستودنت because these are بحسب ما إحنا عاملين كذا. هذا عندنا هو اللي هو الأوبجكت، وعندنا البوليمورفيزم هذا الشكل بيرسون، وعندنا student and we have a graduate student. ف اوبجكت كان الفاذر. نعم الاوبجكت هو الفاذر فقبلهم كلهم. قبل هو حاله، قبل البيرسون، قبل الستودنت، قبل الجراديويت ستودنت. ولكن اذا انا حولتها للستودنت شوفوا البيرسون لانه هو اكبر اعطاني ايرور، الاوبجكت اعطاني ايرور. حوله I will يعني converted now مثلا to خلينا نقول graduate student، graduate student كذا كاتبها صح أنا student. هذا خلينا أعملها clear. خلينا نشوف كيف مكتوبة. هي graduate. أنا كاتب there is something graduate student. Sorry there is a misspelling here. Graduate هذا هي كذا. The name sorry of the class is here. Look at this. The name somehow يعني there is a misspelling. You graduate student. I will take a copy and put it here. الآن شوفوا كل شيء راح يعطينا عليه الايرور باستثناء أول واحد. واضح؟ Because these are the parent class. We cannot put the parent class inside this one. So to fix the error, I will do something like this. Now, as you can see, everything is removed. All the compile errors are removed now. No errors. طيب. I will for now. هذا هو اللي تكلمنا عنه الآن. بعدين راح نتكلم عن هذا اللي هو default thing. لاحظوا هنا أنا ما عندي أي شيء. I have applied. I did not do the dynamic binding here. I did not use the object. I did not assign anything to object here. So here we have applied this one by default. Inshallah, after the break, I will explain this to you. Okay, guys. We have applied now before the break. تكلمنا إنه إحنا خلينا هذا the classes and the person and student and the graduate student. These extend each other. Okay, these extends each other here. Now during the binding لما إحنا عملنا we have passed the new class للobject هذا object X. Now we have binded this one with object. So when we apply .toString, we apply .toString that exists inside the object X. The object X. This is the first thing. Now here we did not pass this through. In this example, we have changed the structure. We have here animal. We have lion, dog, and cat. Okay. الانيمال هو eating. الlion هو eating meat. الدوج هو eating cats. والcat eating rat. Okay, I will explain this to you now. So this is the basic structure. We have animal and we have lion extends animal. وفي عندنا الcat dog extends animal وفي عندنا الcat extends animal. Okay, and everyone has his own method. فهذا اللي راح تشوفوه الآن هو overridden عادي normal overridden because I did not use any method to pass any object to the object class. يعني we did not do something like this one اللي هو I will go back again like this one. ما عملنا شيء كذا. ما عملنا method وما عملنا pass لobject. Can you see شباب the screen? We did not do something like this. Okay, ما عملنا شيء مثل كده. So now here our next example is a previous يعني is known for you I think. I just defined the binding. عادي عملت I did not do any binding. I just عملت new classes. Then I have called them. I put them in A. Then I called the method. First of all, I called the animal a.eat. Let's see what's the animal doing. هاي الانيمال. بس خلينا نشوف الانيمال شباب هو eating فقط. Just eating. Okay. الكات هو خلينا لا الكات هو أو خلينا نبدأ من تحت أفضل. We will start from the bottom. الليون عشان تكون واضحة الفكرة هي eating meat. Lion all extends animal and it's eating meat. الآن we have dog eating cat and also extends animal. شوفوا الستركتشر الآن اختلف معي هنا. الشكل ثاني تعدد الشكل تغير البيهيفير غير عن الستودنت اللي كان كذا. تحكمت بالطريقة هنا في الميثود. عملت بايندينج وقلت له اعمل لي رن للبيرنت للأوبجكت. هنا لا ما عملت أنا بايندينج وقلت له اعمل اوفر رايد عادي نورمال اوفر رايدنج وراح كل واحدة يستدعيها normally as we have seen here. فهنا as we have said animal eating الليون eating meats, الدوج eating cats, والcats eating rat. والcats eating rat. Now here I will run. I have run actually this program. I will run it with you now. First of all, I will close the previous file. This is the previous one. هذا أول واحدة راح يجي ينفذها هذه. شوف إذا كان we debug this file. debug هاي break point debug file. نشوف شو راح يصير له. هو cannot submit a breakpoint. Seems there is an error in other applications, so it will not submit. I will try to close everything and debug to make everything easier to you. debug file. طيب نشوف الآن F7 عادي. استدعى ال F7 عمل eating. طبع لك eating عادي. الآن ما في أي بايندينج لأي شيء. نرجع للدوج. عمل eating cat. هي override normal overridden or overriding because I did not pass anything during a function or pass it to object class. cat eating rat والأخيرة الليون اللي هو eating meats. So this is normal behavior and another kind of polymorphism. هذه الآن الشكل هذا and this form. وإن شاء الله راح ندرس بعد شوي after in a few minutes نوع من أنواع البايندينج اللي إحنا درسناه. راح يحاول هو يعمل run. لو فرضنا هذه الميثود هنا اللي هو dynamic binding راح يحاول. لو فرضنا إنه الميثود مش موجودة هنا. أنت you have called a method using this one and the method here is not here. So مثلا we have هنا A B C D in the upcoming example and we have a method M and we want to call M but M is not here. Now Java virtual machine by default will try to go here and search for M. Okay, and if it is not there, it will go here, and if it is not there, it will go to the parent. Okay, so عندنا هذا الأول هو إحنا عملنا أخذنا الأول واحد درسناه اللي هو الستودنت. هذا خلينا كل واحد يتطلع على الأوبجكت فوق. الأنيمال لا عملنا overridden عادي وكلهم فيهم ميثود eat. هذا في eat وهذا في eat وهذا في eat. الآن الشكل الثالث the third form إنه no we want to نضيف ميثود هنا. here a method we will call a method that is not in the child. What would happen؟ راح يصير يدور بالطريقة هذه حتى يوصل للروت. We will see this إن شاء الله in the previous slide إن شاء الله. وآخر شيء إن شاء الله راح ندرسه هنا مش آخر شيء هو شكل رابع المحاضرة القادمة إنه أنا أعتمد على التايب. أقول له إذا هذا الأوبجكت هو for example A B call method معين. إذا C call another method. إذا D call the third method. إذا A call another method. So we will check the instance type. So these are forms. زي ما قلنا في النهاية هي طرق وأشكال تعدد أشكال في تطبيق البيهيفير في applying البيهيفير. الآن I will go to next one. As you can see before I go I will repeat here. شوف هذه تبعت الأنيمال الكات. هذه الأنيمال هذه الدوج هذه للرات هذه سوري للكات. هذا الانيمال ايتينج الدوج ايتينج كات والكات ايتينج رات وهذه الاخيره للليون. هو النورمال overridden العادي اللي احنا تكلمنا عنه previously. Now I will go to sorry, this is C++. I will clear and go now to graduate هذا الانيمال. Now شباب, as we have said هنا في عندنا البايندينج. برضه نتكلم عن البايندينج again زي ما قلنا. في عندنا static binding اللي هو هذا. أنا عملت create من البوي، والميثود أصلا موجودة وين؟ في البوي، ما تحكمت في شيء ثاني. فالstatic binding when a type of the object is determined at compile time it is known as a static binding. يعني أنا عندي الأوبجكت وعندي الميثود وعملت لها كول، هذا اسمه static binding. static binding. الآن اللي هو الدايناميك بايندينج اللي هو بتغير في الرن تايم ونتحكم فيه إحنا. we are control this one and we need يعني هنا الجافا virtual machine will try to bind، هتحاول تربط أو تعمل connecting مع ال correct method بناء based on my code or based on running the code، بناء على running الكود. شوف الآن هذا المثال هنا. I have create، we have here animal وعندنا المove، هذه method، هذا الانيمال parent، هذا bird، هذا شكل ثاني، وعندنا fish، والبيرد في عنده في منه هو السونج بيرد اللي هو الطائر المغني يعني the singing bird or the singer or the songbird here. We have animal new songbird، قلنا له my animal dot move. اوكي، my animal dot move هي من new songbird. اوكي، suppose انه الموف هذه not static شباب، not static. الان هو المفروض يعمل override للموف هنا بناء على هذا الكود اللي موجود في السونgbird. but the move is not here. اوكي، هذا الشكل الثالث او الطريقه الثالثه للبولومورفيزم. الموف is not here. so now what would happen؟ الجافا فورتش يعني الميثود مش محدده مثل هنا. هي الان في مثلا في الستاتيك هنا عندي boy extend human، وفي عندي walk، وفي عندي في البوي في ميثود اسمها walk، هي واضحه لي. فعملت انا البوي وعملت اوبجكت دوت walk، خلص لحاله راح على البوي واخذ الووك، ما راح على هيومن. الجافا فيرتشوال ماشين ما تدخلت في هذا الموضوع هنا. يعني الميثود ما تحددت في الرن تايم، في الستاتيك في الكومبايل تايم عملت running run then nothing would happen here because the method is already inside the boy. الآن في الدايناميك بايندينج أو بسموه الآن late، يعني هو ما صار في الكومبايل late binding. أيوه هذا all to cast over method all calls to overridden method are resolved at runtime. بمعنى إنه هو ما لقى، مش موجود عندي، ما قدر يربطه، هنا ربطه صار في binding. هي static. هنا no connection، ما صار ربط، فحاول يعمل كول للموف هنا ما لقاها. الآن شو اللي بيصير في الجافا؟ بيحاول يعمل يدور عليها في البيرنت، ما لقاه في البيرنت، هذا الشكل الثالث، بيحاول يشوف البيرنت اوف بيرنت الجراند فادر. اوكي and so on. فهذا this is called as dynamic binding. so البايندينج could be يعني كمثال انه هو في الرن تايم. اوكي، في الرن تايم ممكن نربطه مع الاوبجكت as we have said مع البيرنت اللي فوق when we have passed these new classes to the object, and it might be in the يعني if we try to call a method and this method is not inside this object, GVM الجافا virtual machine will try to look at this one at the top and so on at the parent, and if it is not there it will look at the at a method in the upper in the grandfather. So it will look at the father if it is not inside it, and otherwise it will look at the parent. So we have here زي ما قلنا 3 types now. يعني صرنا دارسين تقريبا فورم الأول اللي هو الأوفرريدن العادي اللي درسناه. الثاني اللي هو إنه أعمل assign لهذول الثري على الأوبجكت. الثالث إنه هو في عندي inheritance صحيح ولكن الميثود مش موجودة here, so I will try to search to the upper parent method to find the required one. خلينا نتحرك على السلايد هذا. فهنا بقول لك الدايناميك binding, also called dynamic dispatch, in the process of linking procedure code to specific sequence of code method at runtime. It means that the code be executed at specific procedure call is not known until runtime, or dynamic binding is also known as late binding or runtime binding. Now, suppose that an object B, an object B is an instance of a classes C1, C2, and Cn. 1 minute, guys. Okay, guys, sorry for this. Now we have, suppose an object 1 is an instance of a classes C1, C2, Cn-1, and Cn, where C1 is subclass of C2 and so on. شو اللي بصير في هذه الحالة؟ بيحاول يعمل لك call في الميثود هنا في C1. No, C1 is a child of or subclass of C2. ما لقاها, he will go and search for it here, and so on until we reach the root, until we reach the root parent. Okay. So now this is what we call here dynamic binding, and this is the third behavior in Bolformism, or the third form, الشكل الثالث. Again زي ما قلنا هنا في عندنا الشكل الأول الثاني الثالث. We have the fourth اللي راح ندرسه إن شاء الله next lecture. We can specify which method to run based على الأوبجكت. يعني بقدر أنا أحدد شو الأوبجكت تاعي وبناء عليه شو أعمل run using instance type. A method, built-in method. This method is built-in method in Java. Okay. Now, again, matching a method signature and binding method implementation are two issues. The compiler finds matching method according to parameter type and number or order. هذا اللي هو overloading at compilation time بالاعتماد على البارامتر type, number, and order of the parameter. And method may be implemented in several subclasses. The Java virtual machine dynamically binds the implementation of the method at runtime, اللي هو هذا اللي هو dynamic binding. وهذا هو static binding كذا يعني. This one and this one. هذا اللي هو بيشبه اللي هو الoverload. Again, we are repeating here the same idea. Now I have this activity here. هذا اللي graduated تكلمنا عنه وقلنا كيف انه هذا صار refer الobject، والobject شو القيم اللي طبع لي اياها. اوكي، فهو invoked الobject that inside to string determined dynamically for the object class. Okay. Now I will go to, sorry for that, to next slide here. هذا تكلمنا عنه المثال. We have run this example. I will go now to next. Okay. So sorry guys, sorry guys for this interruption. I will go back again to this one. Again, we have talked about this one and how we have passed the method to the M1 where here هذا. فهنا أنت عملت passing لهذا الأوبجكت هنا. في حال أنك عملت pass, that means you are going to apply the object. If you did not pass this parameter to the object, you will not override the toString value. the toString الموجودة هنا أو هنا أو هنا you will apply الموجودة في الأوبجكت. ومثل ما شفنا اللي هو الأوبجكت كيف طبع اللي هو الكلاس نيم number هنا. هذا دليل إنه التوString هي default method موجودة في الأوبجكت. Last thing that I am going to talk about, بدي أشوف وين هذا راح نتكلم عنها الأسبوع القادم. طبعا تكلمنا عنه هنا. ما نقدرش نعمل الأوبجكت في الستودنت، هذا ايرور. اوكي. Why casting necessary? What I need this one guys to look at this one before. هو لهذا السلايد شباب. Look at this. I hope you still with me. Sorry for this interruption. Now we have, what is the difference between these two guys? إذا ما أنتم مع شباب، هذا آخر سلايد عندنا إن شاء الله اليوم. هاف سلايد، هاف نمبر أوف سلايد تقريبا. هذه البولومورفيزم بحسب الخطة هي على 2 weeks، وبضل عندنا الابستراكت فور 2 lecture إن شاء الله. بنكون أنهينا مع 1 lab للبولومورفيزم و 1 lab للابستراكت. إن شاء الله we have time and we will finish on time. طب guys, what's the difference between these two? شو الديفرنس شباب؟ شو الفرق؟ What is the difference between them? معي شباب انتوا ولا مش معي؟ يلا 9:30 خلاص، شربتوا قهوة بريك اوكي. What's the difference guys between these two? Shall I pick a name يلا يا شباب. What is the difference؟ هذا شو فرقه عن هذا؟ في الكود. Just look at the code. شو هنا في عندنا أيوة public and private. Thank you رعد. You saved the bill زي ما بقول. Thank you رعد. Now here private. Okay. Now what would happen here شباب؟ هذه شو راح تطبع لي؟ هذه new person dot print person و new student dot print student. هذا هنا ما في passing لobject، ما عملنا assign لobject. In that case I am going to call the method directly new person. هي new person dot get dot print person راح يجي على الprint person هذه راح يعمل call للget info. الget info راح يلقاها عنده، راح يطبع لي person. نفس الشيء للستودنت دوت برنت ستودنت راح يعمل extend person راح يجي على student dot اللي هو print person. الآن بيحاول هنا يعمل print person ما بيلقاها. it will not find print person في الستودنت في البيرسون، فبيعمل print للجيت انفورميشن وبيطبع لي مين؟ student. فهو بيستدعي هذه هنا. اوكي، راح هنا ما لقاها عنده، عمل dynamic binding، راح على البيرسون. اذا new student دوت print person مش موجودة عنده، لقاها he found it in the parent class print person. بعدين طبع الجيت انفو. الجيت انفو it will call it from itself منه، فراح يطبع لك student. فهنا الاوتبوت راح يكون person وستودنت. طيب هنا شباب شو الاوتبوت and why؟ هنا شو الاوتبوت شباب؟ الاوتبوت هنا راح يكون person. يس هو البيرسون بيرسون، بس هو ما راح يلقاه في يس هذه الفكرة. يس حسان هنا ما راح يلقاه، هو برايفت. هو برايفت صحيح، ولكن لأنك أنت عامل نيو دايناميك بايندينج، شو اللي راح يصير؟ راح يحاول يدور عليه هنا، ما لقى الميثود راح يلقاها وين؟ هنا. فالبرايفت will not be inherited. No inheritance يعني no overridden and no polymorphism. فهنا الستودنت راح انت تعمل نيو بيرسون دوت برنت بيرسون. البرنت بيرسون الاولى تبعت البيرسون طبيعي راح تطبع لي هذه اللي هي ريتين بيرسون. هنا ما في عندنا انهيرتنس، راح تطبع لي بيرسون. طيب الان بيجي على الستودنت بيعمل برنت بيرسون. البرنت بيرسون هي اصلا هنا هي برايفت موجوده، سوري هي موجوده بابليك في البيرسون. بيحاول يعمل منها نيو ستودنت، بدخل على الستودنت he will not find anything. بيجي هون على البرنت بيرسون هذا. البرنت بيرسون هذا تعمل جيت انفورميشن. الان الجيت انفورميشن هذه هل راح ياخذها من هنا ولا من هنا؟ راح ياخذها من البيرسون هذا. yes it will be inherited from، يعني مش inherited، he will not find لانه هو طبع الان البرنت بيرسون هذا. البرنت بيرسون يحاول يعمل جيت انفورميشن هذه. سوري I will clear. الجيت انفورميشن هذه this one okay it will not take it from the student. اوكي لان هي برايفت اصلا، فراح يطبعها من مين؟ من البيرسون. for the first time it will print person and for the second time it will print also person. okay so here we will have person student person then student. Here we will have person again. He will try to call it from the person. بيطبع الانفورميشن اول مره person طبعها. الثاني بتحاول يعمل كول للستودنت، بدور هل في عنده برنت بيرسون هنا؟ ما عنده، بحاول يجيبها من البيرنت. البيرنت جيت انفو، الجيت انفو برايفت هذا ما راح يعملها اكستند من هنا، فراح يطبع لك بيرسون هنا بيرسون ستودنت. يعني هذه واحد، ليش كذا؟ واحد اثنين، بعدين هنا واحد اثنين. سوري هنا بيرسون هنا بيرسون ستودنت. I will run it for you if it is there. 1 minute guys. projects. I hope that I have source package here. You are here. I wish I will run it now. هذه شوفوا أول واحدة طبع لي person student public. اللي في السلايدز هنا زي ما انتم شايفين تحولت الجيت انفورميشن لبرايفت. هذه public طبع لي normally person وستودنت. خلينا نعملها اللي هي private like as you can see here private. As you can see we have private للget information و private وهنا كذا sorry I will just I have changed them to private يعني just to make things clear to you. I will يعني minimize the font for you. Now I will run. نشوف كيف صار person. الآن if you want to debug ضيف break point هنا وجرب اعمل debug شوف شو اللي بصير معك. اوكي debug here مع الببليك وبعدين اعمل يعني debug file. مرة جربها في الببليك مرة جربها في البرايفت. إن شاء الله I will upload this example with the lecture. إن شاء الله now I will compress them and upload them to the file. Okay guys, that's all for today.